Hi, and welcome to the In the Cortex podcasts. We are your hosts.
I am Danielle Perrecone.
And I'm Paloma Garcia, and we are the founders of In the Cortex, an online community with programs that show people the tools they need to change their lives through brain reorganization. No medication, just movement.
And when you get your brain out of survival mode and regulate your nervous system, you start to live in the fun, logical part of the brain, the cortex. Subscribe today and learn how to live your best in the cortex life. And now on to today's episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the In the Cortex podcast. I'm here with Danielle, my co-host and co-founder of In the Cortex. And today we're talking about a question that we get very, very, very often, which is why do we always have to start with the parents when they bring their kiddos to us? Usually parents will come because their kiddo has a hard time paying attention, or they maybe have some sensory challenges, or maybe they have some social issues, right? Or something's going on in their brain and the parent just doesn't fully understand what's going on. So they find us. And so they're like, I'm here for my kid. And the first thing we say is, we're going to start with you. And they're like, wait, what? And some parents don't love it and they don't come back. But the parents that do it, truly this transforms their life, right? And they will all tell you here, and if you ask any of our members that are actually doing it as a family, it does change everything. So we want to talk today about why that is so incredibly important.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's not like it's a mandatory thing where you have to start with you, but we will share with you. And this is where we come into our ethics, right? Like Paloma and I will always say, because we've done it for many years where we only focused on the kiddos. Like I would have parents drop their kiddo off to me. I would work with them for an hour and then they'd go home. And then we just did that for year after year. And then finally I was like, but why isn't that kiddo progressing? Like, why are we stuck in that space? And that's where I really started to realize, oh my gosh, it's the parents. We have to get the parents, because what happens is it's the whole co-regulation. So your child is always going to match your nervous system. So wherever you're at, they're going to feed off of it. And it's important because they can only go as far as you. And so the ethical part here is yes, we want to help all the kids. And we're like, yes, if that's the barrier and it's going to stop you, of course we're going to help your kiddos. But where we start going is but we don't want to just take your money. We don't want to just take your money. We don't want you to drop your kiddo off, because of course we can get your kiddo to do everything we ask them to do, because that's what we're trained in doing. But we want your family to thrive. We want your family to really love, I was going to say love, laugh, and live, because that's also my motto. But I also just know that it's life is so much better because I've lived it. I used to just tell my kids to do their brain work, but I was dysregulated, right? And once I got regulated and really just became a very regulated mom, then everything changed in the home. So that's what we're trying to tell parents is that yes, of course you can do it where you ask your kids to do it. But we also really encourage, you want the most efficient and the quickest way to get those changes, start with you.
Yeah, and a lot of parents do not do it themselves. I have so many parents that come to me and they're like, well, okay, I haven't done it, but I'm always super chill when I'm with my kids, so there's nothing to worry about. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not worried. I just know that your kid can see through that. They can, it's not about acting calm. And I think that's something we also want to talk about today. What does it even mean to be regulated, right? Because anyway, we'll talk about that in a second, but it's not about, oh, I'm acting so calm, or I'm acting so nice, or I'm acting this way. It's a nervous system setting, it's where is your nervous system set right now? And so even if you are oh, I counted to 10 and I took a big deep breath and I'm good. But on the inside, you're boiling because your kid will not do the exercises, or will not do their homework, or just refuses to get into the shower, right? They can pick up on how much that is dysregulating your system. And that's very confusing for a kid. Because remember, they're feeding off, like Danny said, they're feeding off of your system. They're understanding their own regulation through the lens of yours, because that's how we operate as humans, right? It's not just with our parents, but it's mostly with our parents that we learn this regulation, right? This co-regulation. And it's actually a feedback loop. So the kid gives it back to the parent, then the parent gives it back to the kid. And that's where, if you're a parent and you kind of see your kids feeling a little bit sick that morning or you're like something's off, your alarm bells go off. Or like, okay, something's going on with my kid, right? Same thing for them. They don't always have to tell you something, right? Maybe you pick them up from school and they're acting a little bit different. Your system's like, okay, something's going on with my kid. That's the same exact thing that's happening the other way around. So you might be like, "Hi, honey, do you want, you know, a muffin for breakfast?" And they're like, something's going on underneath this
Yeah.
exterior, right? So that's what we talk about because it's we have to remember that we're animals at the end of the day. So it's all these signals that our bodies are sending each other, right? About whether we're safe or whether we're not safe. And that's why we have a whole system designed to pick up on those signals. Our neuroception is literally a part of our brain that is all the time scanning our environment and scanning the cues that we're getting from other people around us about whether we're safe or whether we're unsafe, right? And that's where I talk about how it's happened to a lot of us where you walk into a room and you're like, whoa, something just, the vibe is weird in here. You might want to just call it vibes, right?
Mhm.
We're going off of vibes because you're like, there's something weird happen. I don't know. There's something strange going on here. And the second you sit down at the table with your friends, they're like, oh my gosh, these people just started fighting over there and it was so awkward. And then the waiter
Mhm.
did this. And you're like, okay, I knew something was off, right? Because your system senses it. So I think that in our current world, in our current reality, we go too much into like the logical and the, okay, this is the way it has to go because ABC. And if my kid is seeing me be happy, then they don't shouldn't think that I'm upset underneath, even though I am. I'm stressing about work and I'm stressing about money and I'm stressing about this. That's not the way it works. It's so much deeper than that. It is that deep in this case, right? It is
Mhm.
so much
Yeah,
deeper than what we think we're putting off, right? And that's where
100%.
the nervous system regulation comes in.
100%. And parents, we put this call out to you because you have the resources. You have the ability to sign up for a program. Your children don't have credit cards. They can't go on to social media, find us and go, "Hey, mom, here, this is a great idea to sign up for this program." It's on you. And so that's where we always say that you're in charge of really guiding your kiddos to where they need to go. And in our program, throughout the 12 modules, you will be blown away because you came here for your kiddo who's having challenges sitting, challenges with anxiety, challenges with all these things. And then once we put the spotlight on you and we ask you the questions, you're like, well, actually, I do have that stuff going on. And it's the first time you realize that you've only known yourself. So you didn't really have a whole lot to really understand that there was something going on with you too, right? We all know this, mothers, I'm talking to all of you. We all think that motherhood is just gonna be this graceful running through the valleys of like, "Oh, my kids are just gonna come when I call them, and it's gonna be so amazing, and I can't wait to be a mom." And then all of a sudden you become a mom and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this was so much harder than I thought it was gonna be." And I just heard this and I sent it to you. It was a
Yeah.
TikTok about we should remove the idea of hard and easy, and we should find it as being familiar and unfamiliar. Motherhood is unfamiliar. We think because we're animals, it should just be, and it should be instinctual in a lot of ways. But let's be honest, we're super disconnected from everything in our systems these days because we've been so programmed to, like you said, think our way through and we forget to feel it. And then we think that all these things like breastfeeding is going to just be so natural, birthing is going to be just so natural and easy. It's unfamiliar, and we're forgetting to tune the system into being okay and being adaptable in the unfamiliar. So that is what brain work does. It gives you this bandwidth to be able to manage newness and understand that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to say, "Hey, this is hard." So just to kind of give us like a day to day and like bring it into the practical here, when I'm with my kiddos, my kids, my son is almost 10, which is actually kind of crazy. My daughter's almost 7. And the way we've turned In the Cortex into our day-to-day life is by using these simple tools that just get the mind to shift. So, first we encourage you to lay the groundwork. So the first 7 modules of our program, 6 modules of our program is about doing these simple movements that take 20 minutes a day. And you can break them up throughout the day so you can do 4-minute sessions of 5 minutes or you can do like, one off on one exercise. You could take 2 minutes. It's literally so incredibly doable and easy. to bring it into your life. It's really about you deciding that you want these changes to happen. And so as soon as you're on board for that and you're like, okay, I can get on the floor for 2 minutes. Yes, it looks a little silly in the beginning, but once you feel it, you're like, oh my gosh, like my anxiety is just literally leaving my system. I didn't realize that my anxiety was tied to my regulation and how I was processing the world. So once that part starts to become solid, you then realize that stressors come at you and you're just like kind of shake it off. And it's like, oh, that's not a big deal. My kid poking me in my arms, like, mom, 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 look at this, used to just send me into the sensory overload, be like, what? And now I can be like, hey, what's going on? Right.
Yeah.
And that's the change. It's just like, hey, I can shift out of that like overreactive state. So once we're all calm and we're regulated and we can handle the stressors, day-to-day life happens. I homeschool my kids. I just had this example happen. We were sitting at the table, my son and I, and it was later in the day. I don't recommend doing the schoolwork portion later in the day, but life happens. And we got to it and I sat down for an hour and I explained long division to my son. And he's done it before, but we hadn't practiced it because I'm in the flow of like unschooling, homeschooling, like trying to find that balance, right? So we're like, okay, let's revisit this whole long division situation. I explained the whole thing and I was like, listen, I remember this from when I was in third grade. Like, like these are the processes we have to do. And it's as if someone's explaining something to you and you're kind of listening and you're able to answer those little questions like,
Yeah.
is it right or left? And you're just like, oh, it's right. And then,
Yeah.
oh, is it 5 times 5? Oh, 25. So it was able to answer the questions. But then I was like, okay, it's your turn. Show me that you can do it. He looked at me. He's like, what? I was like, what do you mean what? I just shared with you the process for an hour. And we did multiple problems. We talked about it. I gave him all the theory. And I was like, I'm such an amazing teacher. Don't you hear it? And then he looked at me. He's like, what? And I was like, that moment to me 5 years ago would have sent me into a full spiral. And I know every homeschooling mom knows this, or any mom working with their child with
Yeah.
homework. They're like, what do you mean? You just read that word 5 times. How do you not know what it means again? And you're like, then it starts to trigger this feeling where you're like, oh my gosh, you're not going to be able to. And then you go into that future spiral of how your child is now never going to be able to have a job because he can't do long division. Like, it just like spirals out of control. And I was able to be like, I'm actually feeling frustrated that like throughout this entire process, I've offered you multiple breaks to go do a creeping, a crawling lap, or anything to reset yourself, and you refused. That's actually what I'm more frustrated with is that you're not using your tools right now when you know you need it. Because he was like slouching in his chair. He was like, chewing on things. He was fidgeting with things. I was like, it's clear, buddy. You've got a lot of things popping up for you. You could use some brain work. And finally, he did a crawling lap because I was like, you know what? If you don't want to do this right now, that's totally cool. I'm just letting you know that every year school gets a little bit harder and they ask you to do more. So, that's on you if you want to make it harder later, if you want to just start working on it now. But I got other things I can go do. So I'm going to go take care of that. And if you want to reset yourself, you can take a lap. And then him and I have been through this multiple times now. So he knows that I mean business and I will walk away and I will keep it cool. He went and took a lap, and guess what, Paloma? Guess how he crawled? A homolateral
Of
crawl. That
course.
means
He wasn't
right hand,
crossing his
right knee
river
at the
line.
same time, left hand, left knee at the same time. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's no right left brain connection happening right now. And so once I realized like his brain's not communicating, and I should have stopped it sooner to be like, go take a lap and like pushed it. But I wanted him to feel the struggle of like, when you don't use your tools, this is how much harder things can be. You're not adaptable. You can't be flexible. You can't just like pivot and handle something, right?
Yeah.
And so I let him sit in the struggle longer. And once I explained to him, I was like, bro, you are a homolateral crawl. Your brain's not talking to each other. Your right and left side, there's a wall up. And he's like, oh. And then he kept crawling. I was like, you should keep going until it finally clicks.
Yeah.
It took him 3 laps of crawling around the house. And this is me explaining to him the process. So he's understanding his brain. He's understanding his tools. He's knowing his why. I'm a big believer in that. He sat down. He's like, Mom, I did it. It was like all the
Of
stuff I
course.
was saying. It was like the Charlie Brown teacher.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the auditory became clear. And he was like, oh, I got it. And then he did it. And I was like, that's why we do this. This is why I, as the parent, have tools to help guide you, but then you also do them, and now you understand your brain. So here's
Mhm.
this amazing process of I didn't have to call anybody. I didn't have to worry he has dyslexia. I didn't have to go down this rabbit hole that like there's something wrong with my son. I was able to clearly see, oh my gosh, your brain is just not doing the things it knows to do. The pattern is a little bit off right now. Let's get the pattern back in place. And literally, it changed the trajectory of the entire day. We ended up hugging. He released some tears because he was just like, that struggle was a lot for him, you
Yeah.
know? And he was just like, and I told him, I was like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're an incredible kid. And you have so, I see your potential and I know you're capable. But from me, he felt the demeanor of, my mom believes in me. My mom's not questioning me. My mom doesn't think something's wrong with me. My mom's holding me to a standard that she knows I can do. And that was the subconscious undercurrent of that he
Yes.
can do it. And that's what we wanted. That's what we want every parent to walk away with. Cause I'm no different than any other parent. The only difference is I've dedicated my life to understanding the brain, the nervous system, and knowing that there's practical tools you can do in your home to change things. And the conversation is so different. And this is what we want every parent to feel is
Yeah.
that empowerment.
And that's again why the parents need to understand it first. And we met some parents at a training that we did, and they said something. I'm always going, I'm never gonna put my child into something that I haven't tested out first. The way she worded it was like, I was like, yeah, I love the way you said that because, I think a lot of parents do that, obviously trusting the professionals and trusting all this stuff. But then you see those kids that were in those therapies when they're older and they're like, "I hated it," and it usually didn't work. I think about my brother all the time where he was going to all these different therapies, all these things after school all the time, and now he's like, "I hated it. It was the worst. I didn't like the person that was doing it. Didn't help me. I didn't feel better." Like, nobody was there connecting the dots, right? And so, I think once the parents are able to do it themselves, to do the brain work themselves, to understand the regulation, it's so much easier for them to see it in their kids and understand how to connect the dots for the kids, right? And I think that that's something that's, like, so crucial. If you're still dysregulated as a parent and you're in that survival mode, you're not gonna have the to stop and smell the flowers, to stop and look at the good things, right? Like, you're just like, "Go, go, 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 go. I need this to shift. I need that to shift in my kid. I need them to be at this level academically or in sports or socially or whatever," right? And you lose sight of what do they think? What are they feeling and living, right? And I do know that there's a huge shift in the parents of this generation that compared to the parents from before because of the fact that we'll tell them to do it and they're like, "Okay, cool. I was actually thinking that too. I was going to start with myself." I'm like, "Okay, I love that because we just understand that so much more now and we truly understand. I think as a society we're getting to the point where more of us understand that you are the person that the only thing you can control is yourself, right? And so that's where we always say, like, of course, you can notice that there's a challenge here and a challenge there for your kid and give them these tools and help them use the tools. But at the end of the day, the only thing you can fully control is you, right? So that's why it's so important to start with yourself and put the oxygen mask on yourself before you're going to others, right?
All the time. I mean, the idea when people used to say, like, put the oxygen mask on yourself, like, I was always like, okay, I get it, but like, I don't know what it feels like. And I think that's where brain work changed my life. Like, it literally transformed what that whole thing meant. And I think so many times, and I know social media is such a beautiful tool if we use it in that sense of, hey, I can find things that I didn't know existed. And we're opening up like borders and knowing things that we can understand that there's things globally that we now have access to at our fingertips. But what also can happen when you're dysregulated is then you start going, oh, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And then we're like, oh my gosh, I have 15,000 things now that I want to do. But then I'm in analysis paralysis of where do I start?
Hmm.
And Paloma and I are always like, start with your nervous system. And we're not talking, there's so much buzzword right now happening with nervous system regulation. We've been in the game now for what, 17 years? And we're not creating something that your system wasn't supposed to do. We're literally, and we didn't invent this. We are very, very transparent that we didn't come up with any of this. All we did was put it together and we became like, someone just recently said they're the loudspeaker for it. That's what we are. We're literally shouting on the rooftops that the brain can change. You have the tools and we just teach you how to use them. So we're literally creating that first year of life. And we all had a first year of life if you're listening to this. So did you hit those milestone markers of what, development looks like? But we look at it from a totally different perspective. And we literally have found the code to unlock your ability to calm yourself in the most effortless way. You no longer have to like white knuckle parenting. It can become the thing you thought it was when the minute you found out you were pregnant, where you were like, I'm so excited to be a mom. And this, by the way, applies to teachers who are listening. This applies to any individual who's listening because it's not just your kids. Kids are just really good at highlighting. Paloma doesn't have kids, but she uses these tools in her own life and she's interacting with the world around her. And when something triggers her, it's like, there's some information here. I can go work with this. And without the brain work, without that nervous system regulation tool, everything would be annoying.
Yeah.
Being, someone not showing up for a meeting like that probably would have sent us like into like oh, we're not being respected. We're not
You're
like
right.
going through all these things. And we're just like, okay, well, let's just reschedule it.
Do it
That
again.
is
Yeah.
the effect of brain work. You can just effortlessly move through life. You can let stuff go. Nothing is personal. When someone says something's not personal, you really actually can embody that that was not a personal attack.
Not about you. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. That's truly
And
the
it's just,
the way that it looks, and, like, obviously, when you have kids, it's so much more profound, but I always think of, like, the way that like you said, kind of the way that parenting is seen before I always think of, like, the way that parenting was seen, like, in other, you know, generations and other times in a different time, was always this thing of, like I guess it was kind of like a given that you would have these, like, well-behaved little children, blah, 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 and I we were just, again, so hyper focused on behavior and on kind of, like, what it meant about you. I think that that's a big thing, like,
mm,
parenting is seen very much about, like,
are
what's
you a good
does
parent?
the kid's behavior or the kid's challenges or the kid's whatever reflect about the parents, which of course it reflects a lot. You're their literal
Mhm.
parent. Hello, they're made
Mhm,
of
mhm.
your DNA, but I think it's a lot more it's a different conversation nowadays. Like, I think, and I just thought of this because yesterday we met I don't know who I was talking to, and they were talking about a baby and somebody's new baby, and they said, "How do" in Espanol, "How's is
Just behave.
well behaved? How
Yeah.
does he behave?"
Mhm.
"No, he's such a good baby, he's so well
Good.
behaved." And I was like, "Isn't this baby 4 months old?"
Like, I don't even know.
What? I was
That
cracking
whole
up, I'm not gonna talk
baby.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "I'm not gonna talk about it right now," but the fact that some of us still look at kids that way of like, "And how does he behave?"
Mm,
Why don't we ask, like, what are their interests? What are the like, I what's their personality like, I'd
mhm.
rather know that than to see if they behave or not, because behavior has so much to do with what's going on in your brain, and it tells us what's going on in the brain. It doesn't I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't necessarily mean that the kid is good or bad, that the person is good or
Yeah,
bad, that the person
yeah.
is good at this, bad at this, is a certain way. It's just reflecting what's going on in the brain. So the behavior, I'm like, doesn't really matter. Like, it can also be up here one day and down here the next day. You and I know this working with kids, like, and so I think that that's a really good marker though for parents to like start to understand their kid's nervous system and their own. Again,
Mm,
sometimes when you wake up and you're like, I'm in a
yeah.
bad mood today and I'm just gonna, maybe you didn't get enough sleep, maybe you didn't have enough breakfast, whatever it is, right? Then sometimes you're like, "Oh, I'm just floating on cloud 9 today. What's going on?" Right? And that's what parents start to tune into in their day to day, and they start to say, "Oh, wait, I can influence this." That was a
Yes.
very long-winded way of saying this.
That was it.
I know, editing is nice. Anywho, I
I'm
have
actually gonna leave it
I
because I think that process of thinking through all of that was important because a big part of everything is being able to talk through stuff, right?
yes,
And then there
yes.
you hit the gem.
And then I hit it, but
Influence
that's
it.
like, I
Okay.
think the cool piece is, like, now you're like, "Oh, I can actually influence the way that I feel, the way that I show up," right? So, like, you and I will
Yes.
always do a reconnect before we go on a
Yes.
call. We'll always do some brain work before we know something big is happening, like, right before our trip, I did my brain work, obviously, before going,
Mhm.
right? Because I was like, "We're
Mhm.
probably not gonna be able to do it there, so I'm gonna do it before."
Mm.
And, when I have a longer trip, I always travel with my knee pads, right? Because I know I'm gonna
Mm.
wanna do it.
Yeah.
And, like, it's cool to be able to say like, "Okay, maybe I woke up a certain way or I felt a certain way, but I have the tools to change it right now. And sometimes you're in the middle of something and it hits you and you're like, okay, I can't creep on the floor right now, but there's 25 other tools that I can use that will make me
Yes.
come back. Right. And I
Yeah.
love when people will text me and be like, oh, I have this big presentation or whatever tomorrow. What should I do? And I'm like, okay, do this, this, this. And then they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for that. Like, it felt so great, blah, blah. I'm like, I didn't do anything. You did it for yourself. You connected
Right.
that part of your brain. Right. So I think that's the ultimate piece of this is that we're used to third partying everything for ourselves
Mhm.
and going to the experts. And I do think that there's a whole shift in the world right now of
Yeah.
people taking charge of things and wanting to actually do things themselves. And that's why this
Yeah.
is happening the way it is because everywhere that we learned before, you had to go. You had to go to the
Mhm.
place to do the thing where we got trained, and you're in the traffic and you're going here and you're going, and it's expensive and all this stuff. And that's a lot of the models that are still out there. So I think that's why a lot of our brains are still kind of like, wait, it's videos? It's I do it what? Right? Like, there's still a
Right.
part of us that's like, "But I can't possibly just help myself so easily." Like, I can't possibly be the one that is gonna regulate my nervous system for good. I can't possibly be the one who, just by doing these movements and I shifted the way that I spoke to my children and the way that I perceived this thing with my boss and the way that I'm driving down the street now without any road rage. I mean, I think that's the ultimate thing is that we have to just believe in ourselves as a society, and I
Yes.
think I feel like this just turned into like an inspirational rant, but, like,
Right.
literally, that's the biggest thing is because we've been trained to not believe in ourselves, to think that everything is gotta go to the experts, you gotta get a second opinion, you have to do all these things, right? When you notice that there's a challenge in yourself. It's like, let's go
Yeah.
back to basics, let's go back to thousands of years ago. That's not the way it was. Like, people were like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'm feeling this way, I'm gonna go run for a little bit," right? Maybe I'm gonna let it out a different way. Like, that's and lots of people that do exercise do it because of that, because 'cause they're letting their
Right.
system kind of, like, clear out all the cortisol and the adrenaline that they're getting from being stressed out in the day. A lot of people who are, like, the most avid runners that I know at least are super anxious in their day-to-day life, and they're
I was
like,
gonna
"This
say.
is what regulates me," right? And so,
Right.
part of us that knows this because we're animals at the end of the day, right? It's just coming back to those tools and using them now in a more intentional way and with a little bit more efficiency because you
Yeah.
don't have to do it every single time you get stressed. You don't have to go run 3 miles. You can
Mhm.
do one lap of creeping and you're like back to baseline. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I love about this stuff.
Me
It
too.
takes, once you're at a certain level, yes, it takes consistency and it takes repetition at the beginning, right? But once you get to that certain level of regulation, it takes seconds to get back. Seconds by just reminding your brain that it has those connections, like Axel. His brain
Yeah.
forgot that it had connections. His brain forgot that it had a corpus callosum there that was useful to him. Then once he
Yeah.
connected it, he's like, "Oh, I know how to do all this stuff. Thanks, mom. Bye."
Yeah.
Great.
That's the goal, right? Our goal, so a couple of things, we have changed how we live in today's world. So back in the day, thousands of years ago, there were all these villages, right? There was the village leader who kind of you went to as the wise sage for advice. And that's why we have our online community because we offer tons of support and we're bringing back our live weekly brainwork sessions. I mean, we haven't done this in a long time. So this is a new flavor we're trying out. It's
Yeah.
giving Year of the Fire Horse, and we're bringing it back, and so we're doing less talking and more doing, more
Yes.
action, more aligned action steps this year. So you will want to have support and community, and that's what our program offers. So we're kind of like the wise sages and helping you with the nervous system regulation and assuring you that whatever you're experiencing is completely a part of the process. Because
Yes.
in the beginning, it does feel like, whoa, this is new. This is unfamiliar. How do I? And having someone tell you that this is the way to do it helps reassure you to keep going. So it's a big part of that piece. And then secondly, as a parent, your number one goal and what I hope all parents think about is how can when my child turns 18, because that's like the legal age, are they going to be good in the world
Yeah.
without me? I actually
Yeah.
want my child to not need me. I don't want to, I tell my kids all the time, I'm not your friend. I am your parent. Creating that distinction in our roles is so important because I just recovered from codependency a year ago. Like, can you believe it took me 40 freaking years to like
Yeah.
recover from needing someone? Is this the right thing to do? Should I do that? Calling Paloma every 5 seconds. I think I should do this. What do you think? And now finally being able to like settle into my own self and trusting myself. I wasn't taught this. If I had the tools, and this is what I tell my kids all the time, because they're like, "Oh, it took you a long time to do this." I was like, "Yeah, because I had 0 tools. My only tool was
Yeah.
to cry, slam a door, and get upset and think everybody hated me, okay?
Yeah.
That was the only tools I had, and no one was there to hold my hand and sit in any emotional storm ever with me, okay? So you guys don't have that. I am now giving you all of this support. So when you are going out into that world, your shoulders are back, your head is high, and you're confidently walking into this world like, I got it. I am
Mhm.
prepared to struggle. I am prepared to figure out how to get guided through certain things because that is literally life. I think I feared challenge my whole life, but then I created it. So it's this constant chaotic loop of just like, okay, that's really hard, but I'm gonna go make it harder because I just know chaos, and chaos is where I thrive, even though I wasn't thriving because I was getting sick all the time. I'm like, if your system is constantly getting sick, if you're constantly being inundated by any sort of allergy or anything going on, that's a signal that your body is not able to do the things it's supposed to do. So as you get regulated, it's incredible. Like your health improves. Like that's a benefit that most
Oh
of
my
us don't even
gosh,
talk about,
totally.
right?
Yeah,
Like I used to be sick all the
me too.
time.
Me
And I
too.
would feel I would catch everything that would happen. And that was just also like another because again, we talked a little bit too. You mentioned about, poor me, I can't do certain things. I need to revert back. You didn't say poor me, but reverting back to someone else being in charge of my
Yeah.
health and healing.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
a very, like, victim consciousness, right? And it's like, because if it doesn't work, I can blame them. And the
Yes.
fear of, like, blaming yourself, which there should never be the blame aspect, but again, we were programmed our whole lives by people who didn't know better, and we always thought that there had to be blame somewhere, right? Can't it just be
1,000%. And think of how many of our clients reach out and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the worst student ever. I'm so
right?
bad. You're gonna be so annoyed at me for reaching out." I'm like, "I love you for
I
reaching
love
out.
it.
I
Yeah,
love that you're even realizing that you maybe haven't been as consistent. What do you need? I'm here for you." Like, and I always the amount of times I have to say this per week,
yeah, me
"You're
too.
not a bad student. You're not a
No,
bad person. You're not even my student to begin with.
I know.
You're a member of my program, right?
Yes.
You're doing what you gotta do." But I have been so inconsistent and I can't believe it. I'm so bad at this. I'm always and I'm like, "You're not bad. You're awesome. This is just what you need." And I feel like there was one person recently that I had a call with here in Mexico City. She has like a group of moms that she guides. She's really cool. And she said, something that you said to me was really, really impactful. You said, because she kept being like, I don't, oh, I haven't signed up. I haven't signed up. I'm
Mm,
so sorry. I haven't signed up. And I was like, girl,
mhm.
when the time is right and when you're ready, you'll sign up
That's
and
it.
then you'll do it when you're ready.
Yeah,
It's not a problem, and it's not with me. I think that's also the thing is because we are humans at the
yes.
center of this, and we're
Yeah,
still a very small company, so I think
yeah,
people really know us. They really feel guilty with us, right? It's like, "Oh,
right.
no, I'm letting them down." And I'm like, "Bro, just the fact that you were open to listening to me talking about you crawling on the floor
Mm,
as an adult, I love you because of that." If you
yes,
do it right now, if you do it later, if you never do it, or if you do it every single day for the rest of your life, that's all extra. The point is, this is a tool that I wanted to tell you. And maybe you end up telling somebody randomly and it changes their lives, right? The idea is just like, I just appreciate the openness that people have nowadays to actually listen to what we're saying.
100%. And the readiness is so, so
Real.
important. I was just in a session yesterday and they were saying, gosh, people were hinting at these things like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, before I even had kids. Like, why didn't I take them up on the offer? Why did I ignore it? And I was like, because you weren't ready yet. You needed to experience the things you experienced to
Yeah,
give you more understanding of what unfamiliar felt like. Now it's familiar. Now you know the
exactly.
chaos. Now you know what happens when you don't listen to those things. And now you're like, I'm ready now. It was like me when you mentioned meditation classes. And I was
Yes.
like, no, I already know they're all out there and I've already tried all of them. Okay. And this is, oh my gosh, this is so aligned with like how people find us. I've already done all the nervous system
1,000%.
things. I've already done this, and this, and nothing has seemingly helped. So, really quick, I literally thought the same way about the meditation class that Paloma was telling me about. I was like, "I've already tried them all. I've done the Dr. Joe ones. I've done the guided ones from TBM. I've done every single one." And I'm like, "They just don't resonate with me. They're just like not hitting it." She's like, "But just do this one." How long did it take me? A year and a half to
Like a year and a
finally
almost, yeah, like a year and a half to set
a
it
year
up.
and a half to finally be like, "All right." And literally in my first sit down with my new teacher, I was like laughing because I'm like, "This is exactly how ITC is." Like I
Yeah.
could not find a more aligned
Yeah.
meditation practice with
Yeah.
how we see ITC. And the whole time Paloma was telling me about it, and I was like, "Yeah," but then like my life had to do some ups and turns and some crazy twist before I was like, "Now I'm ready."
And
And
that's
so
the cool piece of
yeah.
that you and I get to do is we just get to wait
Yes.
for when people are ready, and when
Yes.
they really do it, you're like, "This is so cool because 'Cause I've heard about your story for 3, 4, 5
Yes.
years, and
Yes.
now you're doing it, and now I'm seeing all the shifts, right? And that's something that happens to me all the time with my meditation teacher where I'll
Mhm.
ask her things, or people will ask her things, and she's like, "That's good. Great. Keep going." They're like, "But what if this? But what if that?" She's like, "Cool. That's great. That's a good thing. Keep
Yes.
going." That's kind of what
Yeah.
we do too when people are like,
Yeah.
"What about this? What about that?" We're like, "Part of it.
Keep
Keep
going.
going. You got it. Yep, that's great. That's great too.
It's
But what if
like
I do this? That's great. What if I don't do this? That's great too." And then people are like, "Wait, what?" So I think that's also another piece that people are learning to wrap their head around
mm,
is that there isn't any like right or wrong way to do this. And we always say doing 10 seconds of brain work is better than 0 because you're
yeah.
getting those neurons firing. That's all we want
Yeah.
to do. And if it takes 10 seconds, 20, I have a member that just started doing this. She started with 20 seconds of creeping. She's like, it's too hard otherwise. It's like, great, keep going,
Yeah.
building her way up to 60, maybe 90. Maybe she'll hit 90 next week. If not, that's
Yeah.
fine. But
Yeah.
that's all we need is to have a little tiny bit of it because that's what our brain needs, right?
Yeah.
Neurons fire together, wire together. That's all we're doing.
That's it. That's it. I'm jazzed. I feel so jazzed right now that like this message is it's inspiring because first of all, we haven't given up being the loudspeaker. For a while, people would just be like, "You guys are crazy. We're putting you into the woo-woo category." I was like, "No, we're not woo-woo. We're practical. Neuroplasticity is real." I just sent you a reel about a Olympic gold medal winner who was talking about neuroplasticity. She's
Yeah,
22. And I'm like, wow, she was so articulate. And I'm like, this is the 20-year-olds right now in today's world are like popping off. You know, I'm like,
Betty's.
okay,
That's for Betty.
I am not afraid of humanity. Like we're coming
We're
out.
good. Yeah,
We're
they
good.
got this. Yeah.
And yeah, they totally got it. And I'm like so inspired that humans are like, we're all experiencing this shift. And I think if you really want something practical, you can do at home at any moment that you're like, oh, I'm feeling that thing hit me. Okay, wait, I know what I can do. And you
Yep.
go do it. And it's just going to change your life. And it's a transformation. So many people sign up. They're like, I had no idea that this was going to change my life. And the parents always say this. This is the classic parent line.
Yeah.
I found you guys because of my kids, because let's be real, the reels on Instagram, we do them kid focused because we know we'll get your attention that way. And then we, like, give you, like, a little bait and hook, and we're like, "Just kidding. It's actually gonna
It's
start with
actually
you," like
you.
Paloma said. And then they're like, "I didn't believe you. I didn't believe you when you said it was gonna be a change that came from within, and it just became my new baseline, and it's just, like, a new way of seeing the world, and I thought my kids needed it, but it was me. My kids don't even do the brain work that much. It's mainly me doing
That's
it."
it. That's
And
the biggest thing. Your kids don't do it that
exactly.
much. You do it more than them.
No. No. I mean, yeah, currently, because they just do it 2 days a week at school,
Yeah.
I hold the weight, and I'm also like but it's not even I literally think about my life right now, and I've never had more on my plate in my entire life, but I've never had more peace and calm and
Yeah.
time and energy. I literally am like, I can do whatever I want. Girls trip to Sedona, let's go. Go do the meditation class, I'll figure it out. Like, it's just now it's just flowing,
You just
and
do
this
it
is
because
where we
you want it and everything works itself
exactly.
out because you're able to
Exactly.
adapt. And that's the
Yes.
biggest thing. Yes.
So we're
Anyway,
hoping yeah, we hope this inspired you to sign up. It's accessible because that is one of the things that also stops people is the money barrier. And we always say if money is ever something that you can't, have in the moment, we will figure out a way to help you. So
send
please
us an
email
email.
us.com. We will figure out a way to help support you through this because we truly believe everyone with a brain
Everyone.
will benefit from it.
It's a
And
fact.
we're here to share that with you. So
Yeah.
check it out. There's a promo link in our show notes and email us with any questions. Sign up for a free 15-minute call because there you can talk to one of us and we'll tell you all the ins and outs and, like, how it's gonna be a totally doable thing for you. So, yeah,
Exactly. Perfect. I love it.
same.
Okay. Well, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.